South Africa protests. Distraction or real concern? Intro. South Africa is once again at the center of a heated national debate. Across the country, protests have been making headlines. Videos are spreading across social media.
Another anti-immigrant protest in South Africa. This one is in the port city of Durban. Many South Africans want their government to take stronger action against undocumented immigrants and tighten border security.
Community groups are organizing, and politicians are weighing in with different opinions. Some people believe these protests are a necessary response to concerns about crime, unemployment, and undocumented immigration. Others believe there is something bigger happening behind the scenes. A question that keeps appearing online is this: are South Africans focusing on the real problems facing the country, or are they being distracted from deeper issues? This question has sparked thousands of conversations. Whether you agree...
Who is funding South African xenophobia, and why would they go to this length to fight to control South Africa? Like, that's my question. Because every time you look at an African conflict, it always seems internal until you follow the money. Right? So what happens is that they weaponize already existing internal qualms or internal concerns, like economic instability, like a lack of resources, like feeling politically and economically disenfranchised. They weaponize that, they create a figurehead or they create a populist party with a black face, with an African face, and then it looks like an internal conflict. And a lot of the funding goes even into the PR and controlling the media houses to propagate this message of African barbarism. So it has happened with conflicts in West Africa, right? Where you wonder, how? Okay, how did people fund the Biafran? Where did people even get the power to besiege and the resources to besiege Biafrans? When you look at the border conflicts in East Africa during the Cold War, it looks internal. When you look at the famines that happened, it just looks like an internal governance issue. But you follow the money, you follow the money, follow the leader, follow the money. Hey, even with the IFP and the ANC bringing it back to South Africa, it always looks like an internal conflict, and you're like, okay, it's just the Zulus and the Xhosas fighting. No. Khante khwetsa khetseng ke mang o file batho ba senang dijo dithunya? Why batho ba senang dijo ba na le dithunya? Ko Somaliana ba botsa dipotso tseo. Why motho na na le dithunya a sena dijo? Okay, I rena dithunya, and it always starts small. Like, obviously whatever's happening in South Africa is not on the scale of all these other conflicts I have named. So I hope because escalate.
Agree or disagree, one thing is certain. South Africa is facing serious challenges that cannot be ignored. Today, we are going to examine the protests, the concerns being raised by citizens, the warnings that have been made about organized crime, and the debate around whether public attention is focused on the right issues. By the end of this video, you can decide for yourself. The growing frustration. For many South Africans, frustration has been building for years. Young people struggle to find jobs. Communities continue to deal with crime. Many residents feel that public services are under pressure. As these frustrations grow, people naturally begin looking for answers. Some people point to economic conditions. Some point to corruption. Some point to failures in governance. Others point to immigration and border management. This is why the current protests have attracted so much attention. Supporters of the protests argue the government has failed to address concerns that communities have been raising for years. Critics argue that the country's problems are much deeper and cannot be blamed on a single issue.
If foreigners get jobs, then they are stealing jobs from South Africans. If foreigners start their own businesses, then they are taking over the economy. If foreigners rent in black townships, then they are invading the community. But if foreigners decide to start their own community, then they are disrespecting South Africa's sovereignty. And if foreigners succeed in life, then they are exploiting South Africans. But if foreigners fail in life, then they are a burden to South Africa. So as you can see, everything that you do as a foreigner in this country is wrong. They don't want you to breathe South African air. They want you to breathe Nigerian or Somalian air, because you are stealing air from South Africans.
This disagreement is what makes the debate so intense. The question of distraction. The word distraction has become one of the most controversial words in this conversation. When people use that word, they are asking whether public attention is being directed toward one issue, while other important issues receive less attention. Some commentators argue that South Africans should spend more time discussing corruption, organized crime, economic growth, and service delivery. Others respond by
Penuel the Black Pen. While you have been distracted by the illegal foreigners saga in South Africa, which is driven by false propaganda by many continental forces. What I mean by that is there's a lot of African leaders who are falsely accusing South Africans of xenophobia. Meanwhile, they won't take accountability for their citizens being in South Africa illegally. It's bullshit. But while you're distracted by this noise, because normally when there's noise in one direction, it means other things are busy happening in the background or have been ignored. The Phala Phala impeachment process has started for Cyril Ramaphosa to see if he is fit to remain president. South Africa has been exporting weapons worth tens of millions of dollars to the United States of America, and they've been taken to court for this. Foot and mouth disease is devastating livestock and leading to the killing of tens of thousands of cattle in South Africa. I know that they're trying to do something about it now. Since the beginning of the year, January 2026, the cost of petrol has gone up by 7.80 Rand a litre and diesel by 10.70 Rand a litre. The Football World Cup, good luck to Bafana Bafana who are taking on Mexico tonight, but the Football World Cup is being hosted in a country, the United States of America, that has been mass murdering people globally, kidnapping presidents, taking over oil fields and lying about white genocide in South Africa. Cyril Ramaphosa a few weeks ago met with BlackRock in Cape Town, very infamous company, to raise more debt for South Africans, which will be paid for by future generations. For those of you who may not know, BlackRock holds massive equity in South Africa's leading financial institutions, including an estimated 10% in Standard Bank, 8% in FirstRand that owns FNB, 7% in Nedbank, and 6% in the Absa Group. Hangwani Maumela, who was implicated in the Madlanga Commission, has not been arrested on allegations of corruption linking him to the 2 billion rand that was looted from the Tembisa hospital. We've forgotten about Thabo Bester and Nandi Bamakutumana. We've forgotten about the Guptas. Bosasa corruption has been unresolved. The arms deal from decades ago, the corruption there has been unresolved. COVID PPE money looted has not been resolved. The banks who have rigged Forex, foreign currency, that has been swept under the carpet. Cyril Ramaphosa a few weeks ago met with Emmerson Mnangagwa, the president of Zimbabwe, with a controversial businessman named Wicknell Chivayo. We don't know what that meeting was about. We don't know if it was state work or personal. The story of Ucwecwe has disappeared into thin air, unfortunately, even though people were going crazy at the time when it was trending. We've got the NHI, Bella, Expropriation Without Compensation Acts that have been signed in, and life goes on. Internet censorship in South Africa and the digital ID have been made laws in South Africa and have been unrolled, in case you didn't know. Pick n Pay allegedly has screwed over their black franchisees who took over Score stores. If you've lived long enough, you know that that story is coming back to the fore. Ebola and the Hunter virus have killed people, but luckily South Africans have nothing to worry about, according to reports. 1 billion rand worth of drugs was found at the Beitbridge border between Zimbabwe and South Africa. 36 million rand and 13 million rand worth of cocaine were found in Durban and also on their way to Gauteng. A 200 million rand drug bust from 2025 has not been resolved. Electricity is up between 8 and 9% since April 2026. Youth unemployment in South Africa is between 40 to 60%, depending on your age bracket. There are between 30,000 to 120,000 zamazamas in South Africa. 35,000 of our spaza shops are owned by foreigners. Anglo-American is leaving South Africa for Canada without full reparations for historical carnage and rehabilitation of the environment. Many parts of Hammanskraal still don't have clean water, sadly, and approximately 4,000 to 6,000 Afrikaners have moved to the United States of America as refugees. So while you're thinking about illegal foreigners, remember that these stories are still alive and well.
Saying that immigration and border control are also legitimate concerns and should not be dismissed. As a result, the debate becomes less about one issue and more about priorities. What should South Africa focus on first? That is where opinions begin to differ. The voices shaping the debate. The conversation is no longer taking place only in Parliament or on television. It is happening on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, X, and in communities across the country. Different voices have emerged with different interpretations of what is happening. Some social media users frequently discuss the warnings previously made by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi regarding organized crime and criminal networks. Others pay attention to the statements and views of political leaders such as Julius Malema and Gayton McKenzie. Public commentators including Ngizwe Mashunu, Jacinta Ngobese, Fakela Mthakathi, and Penury the Black Pen have also become part of wider public discussions around crime, immigration, accountability, and leadership. Their supporters believe they are speaking about issues that many ordinary South Africans care about. Their critics believe that some debates become too emotional and oversimplified. Regardless of where one stands, these voices have become part of the national conversation. The Mkhwanazi factor. One reason the debate has become so intense is because many people continue to refer back to concerns raised by General Mkhwanazi. His comments about organized crime led many South Africans to ask difficult questions. Some people believe corruption and organized crime should be receiving more public attention. Others believe that communities are right to focus on immediate concerns such as safety, jobs, and immigration. The disagreement is not necessarily about facts. It is often about priorities. What should South Africa deal with first? That is a question that remains unanswered. Politics and accountability. Politics is at the center of almost every major debate in South Africa. Many citizens believe politicians have failed to solve long-standing problems. Others argue that the challenges facing the country are complex and have developed over many years. As a result, political leaders often become the focus of public frustration. Figures such as Julius Malema, Gayton McKenzie, and President Cyril Ramaphosa are frequently mentioned whenever major national issues arise. Many South Africans feel that leaders should be held accountable for the direction of the country. At the same time, others argue that solving these problems requires more than simply blaming individual politicians. Fala discussion. Another topic that continues to appear in public debate is the Fala matter involving President Ramaphosa. For some people, it remains an important issue that raises questions about accountability and transparency. For others, issues such as crime, unemployment, corruption, and service delivery are more urgent concerns. This is where the idea of a distraction often appears.
I see yellow soldiers fighting in South Africa, killing white men and black men alike. I see villages burning. South Africa will be a tyranny, worse than any that we have seen in Africa. And South Africa's new government will be weakened and it will be seized by force. Some of the black men and women who are today negotiating peace are going to be arrested by a government in the very near future. They will be accused falsely of treason, and I see them standing in chains before military thugs. My eyes cry for you, Dr. Mandela. You have plowed a garden, but you are not going to be there to reap the bright fruits that you thought you were planting. My eyes cry for you, my Lord, Prince of Pumangene, Mangosuthu Buthelezi. You shall be humiliated before the world, and your people with you. The Zulus are going to be called the enemies of peace. And many are going to be destroyed. My eyes cry for all my brothers and sisters who are in position of leadership in South Africa. How Gozo, Lord of the sky, why do I see you in a darkened cell? God defend you, my President Mangobe. You built a great country. But I see its flag lying on the ground, stepped upon by hooligans, trampled over by murderers. Why? Why do the killings continue beyond 1994? I pray for you all because you do not see. You do not see that foreign murderers are at work in our country. It suits them in their great banks in America. It suits them in their great palaces in England. It suits them in their dens in France that Africa should starve and their children should perish. It suits them, yes. It suits them. Don't you see? Constant Viljoen, is that your blood that I see in the very near future? President declared.
Peers. Some social media users argue that certain issues receive more attention than others. Others believe that multiple national issues can exist at the same time and should all be discussed. The debate continues because there is no agreement on what deserves the greatest focus. Social media and conspiracy theories. Social media has become a powerful force in shaping public opinion. Every day, videos, posts, and opinions reach thousands of people. As a result, different theories often emerge. Some people believe current events are connected in ways that are not immediately obvious. Others reject those theories and argue that there is not enough evidence to support them. The reality is that conspiracy theories often grow when trust in institutions is low. When people feel frustrated or ignored, they naturally begin searching for explanations. This is not unique to South Africa. It happens in many countries around the world. Is it a distraction or a real concern? This brings us back to the question that has divided so many South Africans. Is the protest movement a distraction from deeper national problems? Or is it a real concern that deserves serious attention? The answer depends on who you ask. Some people believe South Africa should focus primarily on corruption, organized crime, governance, and accountability. Others believe immigration, border control, and community safety concerns cannot be ignored. Many believe both issues are important. Whatever position one takes, one thing remains clear. South Africa faces serious challenges. The country needs solutions. The country needs accountability. South Africa finds itself at an important moment. The frustrations felt by many citizens are real. The concerns being raised in communities are real. The political debates are real. And the disagreements about priorities are real. The question is not whether South Africa has problems. Most people agree that it does. The real question is which problems should receive the greatest attention and how those problems should be solved. That is the debate taking place today. And it is a debate that will likely continue for months and years to come. What do you think? Are South Africans focusing on the right issues? Or is the country being distracted from deeper challenges? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.